lunch breakers and takers, do us a favor. Take a minute to hit that like and subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos in the future. So we have done a couple of videos on our man Orlando Zeus Brown Jr. Right, and it's a hot topic. You guys love talking about Orlando Brown and the possibilities we can get for him in a trade. You know what we'll end up getting for him. So me and B just kind of want to discuss what we think his actual trade value is, what we think we can actually get for him, or what we should be targeting for him in a trade.
Yeah, just first in general, I'm not a big fan of giving up a lot of picks for a player like a position like left tackle, right? Yeah, it's an important position, but having a great, even if you had an amazing left tackle, that doesn't fix your offensive line,
It
right?
doesn't.
That's more about having a group of players who can play well together.
Yeah.
So just from that standpoint, I'm not a big fan of giving out a bunch of high picks or really good players or something like that to trade for one guy on that line, right? And when you look at Orlando Brown, you're not talking about an elite tackle, right? You're not talking about the best left tackle in the league. You're not talking about the best right tackle. You're talking about a good tackle.
Yes.
So with that said, we wanted to go over some of the recent trades that have involved left tackles and see what kind of value teams have been able to get. So obviously the number one and the one that everybody loves to reference in Baltimore because they got a lot. Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
They got 2 firsts and a second, right?
Yeah.
And just so I got the list of these trades from, I don't remember what site the article was on, but if you follow, I believe it was Benjamin Solak. He put out an article talking about the trade, so you can check that out. You can find him on Twitter.
Is he from the Draft Express? Is he one?
I'm not sure, but you can check it. He tweeted it out.
Okay.
So yeah, Laramie Tunsil, 2 firsts and a second. Kenny Stills was part of that deal also, but what he was saying about that was it was kind of an outlier in that Bill O'Brien's a terrible GM.
Yeah.
And the reason that they had to give up so many high picks is because he offered Jadeveon Clowney when they didn't have the right to trade Jadeveon Clowney. He was a free agent and they had franchised him, but he had not signed the franchise contract yet.
So they kind of panicked a little bit and we got to make this right.
It was kind of like, hey, we'll give you Jadeveon Clowney. And Miami's like, okay. And he's like, oh, well, we can't. So how about an extra first? And I get why people use this as an example because 2 firsts and a second, everybody wants that. But again, you got to remember that was Bill O'Brien, and Bill O'Brien got fired specifically for making terrible trades.
And that's exactly why you don't have coaches be GMs, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but again, Laramie Tunsil is a young left tackle, so that you have to consider that when you're talking about Orlando Brown.
Yes.
Moving on next, we got Trent Williams, who is, I believe, turning 32, or he is 32. He got traded for a 3rd and a 5th.
Yeah.
So obviously a huge drop off in the compensation there.
But an older player.
He is older, but he's also a much better tackle than Orlando Brown is. He's an elite tackle. Yeah. And 32 is not old when you're talking about an offensive lineman.
Right.
Andrew Whitworth is one of the best tackles in the league. He's a good 6 years older than Trent Williams.
Yeah.
So that's not much. But again, Trent Williams was coming off a lot of injuries. And he had been sitting out. So, you have to take that into consideration as well. That's why that compensation was so low for that particular trade. Dwayne Brown, again, an older player. I believe he was 30 or 31 when he got traded. He got traded for a 2nd and a 3rd. So that's better. Again, I think a better tackle than Orlando Brown is, but not the kind of compensation you're going to be looking for. And that's one of those teams. And I believe there was also a couple players in that trade as well. A couple of edge rushers or linebackers anyway. They're kind of the team that I'm talking about when I say don't put too much into a trade like that for that one player, because Seattle got Dwayne Brown and their O-line still sucks because he's just one guy.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't want to give up the entire farm. Trent Brown, I think he actually ended up playing right tackle for Vegas. But he went for a third round pick. He's a young guy, talented guy, but hadn't actually played very much.
Right.
He had, I think, it was 10 starts prior to being traded for that third round pick. So I think the most comparable player or trade happened several years ago, and that was Jason Peters when he was 27. He got traded from Buffalo to Philly. He was arguably the top left tackle in the league, 27 years old, and they got a first and a fourth, right?
Right.
So I think that, if you're Baltimore, that's kind of where you're going to be. You want to start, you want a first round pick, obviously. But I don't think that you're going to be able to push for too much more than that. I don't think you're going to get two really high picks. Because, again, like I said, you have to factor in, one, Orlando Brown's not an elite talent at this point. He had 5 penalties and gave up 3 sacks. Now, those 3 sacks, I believe, were all when he was playing right tackle. But, it is what it is still.
Yeah.
He's not a Trent Williams type. He's not Teron Smith, he's not Teron Armstead, he's not Bakhtiari, and you do have to give him a huge contract as soon as you trade for him.
Right. Now, so I'll make a small argument in the other direction, right? So we can kind of play both sides of it. Is he an elite tackle right now? No, but what is he? 23 years old.
I think he's 24.
Yeah, 23, 24. So he hasn't hit his prime yet, and he's been a Pro Bowler on both left and right tackle. So the diversity there, you're getting high quality play no matter where you play him, and his best football is still ahead of him.
Yep.
So getting him now and getting him while he's going into his prime is ideal. And a lot of teams will look at it like that and say, yeah, this is the time where we want to pay him, because he's just breaking into his prime. The second thing is his age. Like he's younger than those other guys, right?
Yeah.
Trent Williams, Dwayne Brown. They're a little bit older. Trent Williams' injury issues, I think, was a big reason why you didn't get as big of a pull for him. And just a situation where he was in with Washington, right? Like he just didn't want to play for them.
Yeah.
Right. With Orlando Brown, look, players don't really leave the Ravens too often on bad terms. Even though now he's asking for a trade, it's not one of those things where he hates it there. It's an amicable split, right? They understand it's a business, and it's not, it's no love lost there. He appreciates them, they appreciate him. It's just a business side of it, and they understand, like, yes, we got no problem with you moving on and getting your money, but we have to get value for you. And the Ravens are respected amongst the league as one, like, the top tier teams, like top tier organizations. So that's the other thing too. And I said this to you offline. The Ravens don't get finessed in the trade, right? They do the finessing. So that's the other part of it too. So they will absolutely take advantage of a poor organization. And there are a lot out there that, yes, you can look at the history of trades and see, okay, not too many of these guys went for first round picks, but there's always a bad team out there that's willing to jump the gun, and they react off the smallest things, right? Yeah. What's the big thing that people are talking about right now? The Super Bowl, right? And how Kansas City couldn't do anything because their O-line couldn't hold up. So there's going to be a team that's going to react to that and say, got to get an O-line, got to show up this O-line.
And it's crazy because that should have absolutely no bearing on you going after Orlando Brown.
It shouldn't.
And I don't mean that just from the standpoint of, oh, it was one game and that wasn't, it was a different team, blah, blah, blah. I mean that from the standpoint of they were missing 5 of their top 8 O-linemen. Yes. It's not like they didn't build the O-line and that came back to bite them. Like they got hit with injuries.
Too many people pay attention to narratives like that, even in front offices. They don't really dive deep into it, and take a look at what's really going on. They'll just look at the headline and say, hey, Shannon Sharp said this. Ryan Clark said, hey, look, the O-line, didn't hold up. These guys know what they're talking about. Dan Orlovsky, mentioned, the O-line, they had better protection. It could have been a different game. So we need to focus on O-line. There's going to be a team like that. And you think, oh, no, these guys are better than that. Like, no, there's no way NFL executives think that way. But they do. Mm-hmm. They do. And the Ravens know that. And that's why they always fleece these teams in deals, because they know they know who to target. Like when they put out there, hey, we want a first round pick, because they already know they're going to get a first round pick. Now the question is, how high of a first round pick are they going to get? I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be that high.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly because of the fact that it's a deep class for tackles, and it's a down year for the cap. And so, like, if you're sitting there at 10 or 8, or even as far back as 13 with the Chargers, like, you can say to yourself, listen, we can trade for Orlando Brown, or we can take the number 3 tackle in this class,
right,
and have him for cheap for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's that argument of taking the sure thing, but again, you got to pay the sure thing.
Yeah.
And most NFL teams are not willing to do that.
Yeah, because if like you said, if we're picking that high, I'd rather get the guy that's going to be on the rookie deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're picking the high, chances are you're not even really competing right now anyway. So why am I spending that kind of money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is why I think the Chargers are such a great target, and Dallas as well, because they have the rosters to compete right now. They had bad years, but you're talking about a couple moves away on each team. I mean, in Dallas, it's really just getting Dak back, right? I mean, obviously they have to improve the defense, but in with the Chargers, you brought in a new head coach. You go and get a left tackle, get some better protection around Herbert, and in theory, you should be pushing for the playoffs next year.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about real quick what we think should be what we should be targeting. And we've done this in other videos too. You can check out some of our other Orlando Brown videos, and we talk about it. But I want to address some of the comments that we've received, and reaction that we received to some of our trade options out there. Shout out to our man Shaheen in the comments, and shout out to Purple Rain Podcast. They kind of reacted to us talking about Mike Williams, getting him in the trade. And the concern, I understand the concern. It's hey, Mike Williams going to the last year of his deal, and his cap is going to be like $15 million, and we only got $20 million in cap. How do we afford that? Well, it's just going to be the same thing for whoever trades for Orlando Brown, right? Orlando Brown is in the last year of his deal. What are you going to do about that? You extend him, right? Yeah. And you rework his deal, and you stretch out that salary. You lower the salary cap that way. If you want somebody, there's always a way to get him under the cap. And saying that we only have $20 million in cap is not telling the whole story, right? We're ranked 10th in terms of cap space in the league. Mm-hmm. So we have more cap space than most teams. So it's not like it's not like we can only get 1 or 2 players and that's it. They're gonna go elsewhere. These players have to go somewhere. There's a lot of good players in free agency. First of all, there's a lot of good players in free agency, and they're not all going to get huge deals because teams just don't have the money. Right. And what are they going to do? Not play a year? No, they're going to sign somewhere. Okay, so
you're going to see a lot of 1 year, deals that are less than the player wanted to take, but they're trying to, just catch on and play well and cash in next season.
Yeah. So you rework his deal. Like, he's not a 1 year rental if we're trading for him. Mike Williams is a very good wide receiver. He's not a 1 year rental. If we trade for him, it's with the understanding that we're going to get a deal done, right?
Yes.
If he doesn't want to do a long-term deal, then you don't trade for him.
Right. And it's the same thing for, like I said, with the teams trading for Orlando Brown. His cap hit this year is a little over $3 million. And that's going up for whoever trades for him is not going to get him for $3 million.
Nope.
You have to do a deal with him as soon as you trade for him. Otherwise, you end up in a Laramie Tunsil situation.
Right. Where you have to either tag him or let him walk, and you just gave up a bunch of picks or players for him, so you don't want that to happen. So yes, I mean that was just one option, right? We like Mike Williams. We think that would be a good move for both teams. And, maybe Mike Williams in a later pick. It wouldn't be the first round pick, maybe a second or third or something like that. But no, there are other options out there. I like Cortland Sutton over in Denver. We like not Kenny Galladay. Over in Dallas, Michael Gallup. Yeah. We like Michael Gallup. I mean, there's tons of other options out there, but the point is, get a proven wide receiver in the trade. I want a proven wide receiver over a high draft pick. Right, that high draft pick to me, like, no matter what we get, yes, I want draft pick too, but that first draft pick needs to go right back at tackle, right? Like we need to get Orlando Brown's replacement in the draft, or if not his replacement, a backup to his replacement,
Yeah.
because we're only gonna have one tackle on the team. I want somebody that I know can play at wide receiver. I don't want to get a bunch of picks and then we're in a situation where we're like, oh well, we can get a tackle now, we can get interior O lineman, we can get an edge rusher, and then we'll get a wide receiver in a second or third round. No, we're done.
And that's exactly what will happen if they trade him for a couple picks.
Yeah.
That's why I think for the offseason, we're gonna be putting out a offseason kind of plan for Baltimore on our website.
Yep.
And the Panthers as well. That's not up yet. We're just working on that now. But just to give a preview, I think the reason why I want them to trade for a wide receiver primarily is so that you don't later get in that situation where a wide receiver just kind of gets squeezed out.
Right.
It kind of becomes a numbers game. And, oh, well, we didn't have, another first round pick to use on a wide receiver. And, oh, we didn't, the value wasn't there in round 2. So we just got somebody in round 3. Right. Go and trade for a player like Mike Williams or Michael Gallup or DJ Chark or somebody now. So you have that already, and then work out the rest. Because honestly, the position that needs to be squeezed out is edge rusher.
Yeah. No, I agree. We can take a hit at edge rusher and still be fine. Like we don't even like the way our defensive schemes are run. We don't even rely on edge rushers. We blitz way too much, right? So what does it matter if we have elite edge rushers or not? You know what I mean? Like we tried that last year. We tried that. We brought in Yannick. We had Matt Judon, and we didn't get to the quarterback anymore. We tried a little bit more pressure, but I mean, did it make a huge difference? Not really.
And it didn't make a difference in the way Wink called the games. Like he's still going to blitz. He's going to blitz no matter what. So Baltimore just re-signed Jihad Ward. Go ahead and re-sign Tyus Bowser, and invest a day 3 pick at the edge, and just let Wink do his thing.
Yes, listen, man, we're going to keep saying it. This whole offseason, get used to it. Hashtag defund the defense. All right? We're not saying take all your resources out of the defense. The defense is fine right now. Stop putting so much resources into the defense.